Ha 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 ha. It means
I want some sex to relax.
good, honest guy.
Out of all the fedoras here on Opinions Tube, Dusty Smith must be one of the most notorious, with his ridiculous rhetoric on religion and how he basically conducts himself as a living meme.
So now's the time on the show where I show you some of my favorite memes from around the net. So you're telling me you smoke a plant that makes you hungry for fun?
Dusty to me symbolizes everything the so-called skeptic community is. Overly confident pseudo-intellectuals who will make points with as much brevity as they can muster, however lacking in substance or basic inquiry. This has become even more apparent after the new Anti-SJW phase. Seeing those who are in a better position, arguing with brain-dead creationists, switch over to discussing political philosophy and so-called cultural Marxism has been mentally frustrating. As much as Dusty has contributed to the perverted intellectual landscape in which we now dwell, it seems this is a time he can make positive change. Dusty is concerned with the state of the new atheist community. Personally, as relatable as this is, I couldn't care less. However, I am pleased with the fact that Dusty is challenging the scourge of this anti-SJW liberalism, a culture which is given base to intellectually vapid and deficient mongoloids to spew their useless verbiage.
God, these people are so dumb, but we feel better because we can look at these people saying these blatant, obvious, dumb things, and I can just talk about it. Ugh.
Dusty, however, has made several errors in his video, many of which were addressed to in responses by the other fedoras. Most of the response he has gotten, however, is as per the fedora tradition, pure concentrated spurgery.
Everyone finds out about stuff at different times. Some people aren't ready to hear certain things at certain times, and then they come round later on. Fine, I don't care, as long as they come round. That's the main thing. But for you to turn around and say this shit after you tried to come in at the end and cash in, and then basically dismantle everything that we accomplished because you don't fucking understand how any of this shit came to be, because back when it was relevant, you didn't give a fuck? No, fuck you. You don't have the right, motherfucker.
The notable error here is his assessment of the alt-right. He associated it with any sort of Trump support or anti-SJW rhetoric. Now, the debate here was actually quite hilarious, because, well, it was ridiculous for Dusty to insinuate TJ was alt-right. Others responded saying that someone like Steven Crowder, a pro-Israeli neocon, was a more accurate example of the alt-right. Dusty later made a video saying r/the Donald is a better example of the alt-right, and explained in a response video to the Drunken Peasants that most of the alt-right are not white nationalists, but just generic Trump supporters. As someone who is more familiar with the more obscure sections of the alt-right, I can say that while the majority of the alt-right are just normie conservatives, the more obscure part is where most of the ideas of the alt-right actually come from. It is at large comprised of race realists and reactionaries who support white nationalism, or at least any sort of ethnic or civil nationalism that you would see in one of these sort of right-wing autocracies. So I'd say the real alt-right are those like the Death Panel and the rest of the rightstuff.biz, Maracu or Tyrant Fascister, Black Acid Lizard, as well as Ghoul and his page, Countersignal Memes for Fasci Goys. Dusty's other flaw is when he says that Islam is currently the most evil and dangerous thing in the world right now. To this, as a stern right, I am just compelled to autistically screech spooks, and as a Marxist, I just think this is a bunch of liberal horseshit. It is infantile to reduce an entire Middle Eastern conflict this deep to something as simple as Islam. It is a mindset that requires a complete ignorance of history and economics, and all I can really say is that just, read some Marxist and general leftist theory. Trust me, Richard Dawkins' memetics is not groundbreaking philosophy. New atheism won't get you anywhere. Now, this being said, Dusty's point that anti-SJWism is pointless and ridiculous is absolutely true. The biggest error of these anti-SJWs is that they don't actually know what they are fighting against. They claim to attack radical feminism, yet they lump in liberal feminist sentiments such as intersectionalism, safe spaces, trigger warnings, microaggressions, privilege, and gender theory. Or they will find the most ridiculous opinion that only a fringe group of radical feminists would actually believe in, such as the notion that all PIV sex is rape. Below in the description, I have left an article on basic radical feminist theory. Now, how about you actually fucking read it? And believe me, as a Marxist, I have my criticisms of radical feminism, but I consider them to be a hell of a lot better than the typical liberal college campus feminists. I am also of the opinion that you should know what you are criticizing, and it's especially ironic that your side is the one that's always yelling, "Oh, my strawmans, my fallacies." And the actual debate between these liberal SJWs and anti-SJWs is that it's the most fucking bullshit thing. The discussion, or more appropriate, Spurgfest, never even leaves the realm of liberal axioms. Literally, this entire debate is just, oh, we need more social democracy to help fix the wage gap. While the other side just moans back, oh, but what about my precious bourgeois liberal individualism? Oh, and read some fucking Stirner, you mongoloid. Now we come to another popular Fedora point. The free market of ideas. The problem with the free market of ideas is that it's both responsible for you and the liberal feminists who you despise. Just like how regular free markets end up creating worthless culture, your free market of ideas creates worthless discussion. Personally, I am a huge fan of the gulag of ideas. You whine to Dusty that you are just expressing our points of view. Well, you and your points of view are worthless. Sure, whining about my SJWs is your point of view, but I think that point of view is better for the fucking Arctic. Now, what really is this new SJW trend all about? Idiots like Uzalu will claim it's some sort of cultural Marxist conspiracy, a far-left plot to sabotage his precious liberal individualist order. I say he is clueless to the expansion of capital. Neoliberalism has been a buzzword that many of these fedoras say to be against, but in this context it really has no meaning. It's, for them, just simply a buzzword for what they don't like in modern capitalism. But what really is neoliberalism? Well, it's simply as it reads. It's simply classical liberalism applied to the conditions of today. Classical liberalism seeks to create universal republics founded on trade and freedom. It replaced the feudal lords and serfs with the bourgeoisie and the proletariat. Now, neoliberalism is different, but has similar principles. Capitalism needs to expand, and to do that, it needs access to more resources and markets. So neoliberalism does just that. It expands markets globally and therefore must expand beyond the nation-state. With it, capitalism must be unburdened from traditional ideas of culture and identity to work. Liberal ideas have become part of the superstructure. So if SJWs are truly the bane of your existence, you may want to shift your focus towards capitalism.